Today we're bringing you a preview of Frosthaven, the newest title from Cephalorfair Games, available on Kickstarter March 31st. I'm Mark Maya, welcome to Board Game Coffee.
Why are you wearing a suit?
Because this, madam, is what we call an occasion. Frosthaven is a cooperative 1-to-4 player legacy adventure game and sequel to the cardboard phenomenon known as Gloomhaven. And that's a wrap. I think that went pretty well, right? It was good. Thanks for joining us. If you like this video and you want to see more... What? I told them it was the sequel to Gloomhaven. What else is there to say? They get it, right? You guys get it? I mean, you don't need me to tell you how good Frosthaven's gonna be. It's like Gloomhaven, but more and better and more stuff. New stuff.
Then tell them about the new stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, okay. So Frosthaven is like Gloomhaven, but frostier. So frosty.
Go on.
All right. You see, Frosthaven builds on the core mechanics of its extremely successful predecessor. So if you've played Gloomhaven, you'll already know the necessary fundamentals to get you started. Now, I'm gonna be straight with you. This isn't a completely new gaming experience. This is the evolution of a game that's been sitting on the top 10 hotness list since the beginning of time.
You mean since 2017?
That's what he said. And based on the prototype alone, I feel it's pretty safe to say Frosthaven is not going to disappoint. And if you haven't played Gloomhaven, that's okay, because you don't need to have played Gloomhaven to enjoy Frosthaven. This is a standalone experience with its own rich story that takes place in a world of fantasy and adventure. So if you're new to the Haven series, you've come to the right place. But if you're an old Gloomhaven vet looking for more of what you love, well, you've come to the right place. But that's enough about how great Gloomhaven is and how good Frosthaven promises to be. And if you want to know more about OG Gloomy, there's plenty of great videos out there of people gushing all over this thing. You don't need me to tell you what everyone else has already been saying for years. But if it makes you feel better, just watch those and pretend I said it. It's kind of like the world's laziest form of plagiarism. What I want to talk about is the new stuff, the innovations that ignite that little spark of excitement deep down in the cockles of my heart. Just to the right of the cockles, to be exact. And you know what? The best parts don't happen in some dark and dreary dungeon crawling with nightmarish horrors, although those are pretty awesome too. My favorite parts, the cockle sparkers if I may, happen between the quests in the town of Frosthaven. You see, in the original game, you'd complete a scenario, fill your pockets with coins, and then run off like a kid to the candy store on a quest to acquire as many Twizzlers, Pop Rocks, and Sugar Sticks that your fistful of pennies could buy. But now it's so much more than that. Now, in addition to coins, you also collect materials like hide, metal, wood. Materials which you take into town to create weapons and armor. And if that doesn't tickle your Diablo World of Warcraft crafting bone, nothing will. And it doesn't stop at weapons. You see, you and your fellow band of adventurers also have the option of pooling your gathered resources in order to build, improve, and reinforce structures within the town of Frosthaven. You actually build up Frosthaven. How awesome is that? Video games have been doing this for years. Find a town in desperate need of help and capitalize on their misfortune by investing in a few new shops and having them build weapons, armor, and potions for you at cost. Sure, the official story spins a tale of strangers saving the town of Frosthaven and its grateful compatriots, but I like my version better. Puts a real-world spin on things, don't you think?
You're a monster. And I married you. What does that say about me?
Now, where was I? Right, improving the town of Frosthaven. You see, how you improve your town changes what benefits you have access to. which in turn customizes your experience, making it different from, say, my game to yours. Different towns, different benefits, different experiences, all of which impact your adventure. And buildings have levels, so the more you put in, the more you get out. For example, contribute new materials to the craftsman shop and you'll unlock new weapons. The more you level up the shop, the more weapons you'll have access to. Build up the workshop and you can buy yourself a boat or a sled to gain access to new scenarios. There's even income buildings like the mining camp, logging camp, and hunting lodge. Frosthaven promises some pretty in-depth immersion in the world that exists around monster slaying, which I think is awesome. It creates a world that feels more grounded and flushed out. A world where my actions have consequences that burrow down into the heart of the community that I'm building. This is my town. Don't with me. Sorry, that got a little personal, but that's exactly what this is. Personal. Because this is about you and yours. It's about customizing your town and tailoring the experience to meet the needs of your team. And there's more buildings than the ones I mentioned, but I don't know what they are. I don't want to know, because not knowing is so very exciting. Discovery is part of the whole experience, so embrace not knowing, because ignorance, as they say, is pretty darn cool. Oh, and this time around, when you retire a character, you unlock new buildings for your town. It's like the necromancer decided, instead of moving to Florida, I'm going to invest my life savings and open up a little frozen yogurt shop. Maybe put some tables up front and open up a gift shop off to the side that sells t-shirts that read, "Keeping it frosty." It'll be great. I mean, who doesn't like frozen yogurt? It's so creamy and refreshing. One second. But all that town building is for naught if you don't protect it from the local monstrosities. The walls around Frosthaven are what keep it safe, so if you want to protect your investment, you better be reinforcing your perimeter. Because if those monsters get in, then they're gonna break down everything you built, and then nobody gets any yogurt.
The script says Mark throws aside the frozen yogurt.
No, I don't think so. Oh, and I almost forgot about the alchemist. Invest in them and you'll unlock more advanced potions. And the best part about the alchemist is you get to create your own potions through trial and error. Mix two herbs together and see what you get. And once you know the recipe, you'll know it forever. How awesome's that? And as I understand it, the final product will be some sort of hidden reveal system, like an advent calendar. You never know what you're gonna get.
What's with the accent?
It's an impression.
Is it?
Alchemy in Frosthaven reminds me of when I was a kid, mixing Sprite, Coke, and Tahiti Treat, convincing myself that I was inventing brand new soda. I called it the Tornado Twist. God, what's in this?
Coke, Sprite, and a little bit of chocolate milk for texture. In my defense, Tahiti Treat is nearly impossible to find.
There's so much in Frosthaven that feels like it was pulled right out of my childhood fantasies. It's like an adolescent version of myself came up with a bunch of cool ideas. Then one day a wise physicist came by and taped those ideas up to the fridge like a doting mother, giving shape to my incoherent juvenile concepts, giving me everything I ever wanted as a dorky, fantasy-loving 12-year-old in a format that I can appreciate as a man in his early 30s.
30s?
This idea of building up Frosthaven adds so much to the adventure without mucking up the formula. you still get a starting deck of cards unique to your hero. You still play 2 of those cards per turn, activating the top of one and the bottom of the other. And you still play in order of initiative. All those familiar gameplay mechanics are still there, and they still work. So, as the old adage goes, if it ain't broke, leave well enough alone. But don't worry, this isn't just a repackaged Gloomhaven. With this much frostier version, you're getting a ton of new scenarios. New world map, new items, and an all-new story. And 16 new character classes to play with, 6 of which will be available at the start. Like the Banner Spear, who uses team formations to pull off some killer attacks. Literally. I guess she has a point to make. Get it? Brittany, a point to make?
Please stop.
The Blink Blade, who can slow down time and kill you in the blink of an eye. See what I did there?
Is this going to happen every time?
There's this guy who is just loaded with persistent abilities, which he can use to augment other abilities. His card says Drifter, but I like to call him Buff Stuff.
What?
Get it? Because he likes to buff stuff.
Ugh.
There's the Deathwalker, who draws her strength from the shadows at her command.
That's it? No clever little flourishes?
No, Brittany. I'm a board game media professional, not a 2-bit comic hack. Plus, I couldn't come up with anything good. That's something with shadow puppets, but just didn't work. There's Geminate, who is actually a swarm of bugs and can take on 2 forms, each of which comes with its own starting deck and mini. And both are fully capable of ruining your family picnic.
That's terrible.
Sorry, are my jokes bugging you?
Just stop.
The Necromancer can summon the dead. Happy?
Happier.
Now, unlike Brittany, Frosthaven isn't here to tell you how to have a good time.
Hey.
All it does is set up a scenario, how you play it, and the stories you forge within that scenario are, for the most part, up to you. Will you work together to overcome insurmountable odds? Sacrifice your own well-being for the well-being of the team? Or will your Blink Blade run off on their own greed-fueled adventure to scoop up all the loot tokens and leave you with nothing more than the table scraps that they didn't have enough time to get to? Nope, not even that. Much like real life, how much you work together is really up to the individual. Sure, you might need each other to prevent mutual destruction, but nothing's stopping you from being a total twat about it. Aside from all those new hero classes you'll be getting, you're also going to get 3 new enemy races. The Algox, the Lurkers, and these robot things. Or as I like to call them, the Abominable Death Machine, Red Lobster's Revenge, and D&D Dice Fight Back. Now, what they do, how they do, and when they do it, I'll leave up to you to discover on your own. With that, let's move on to the loot deck. Loot decks are constructed at the beginning of each scenario and consist of coins, building materials, herbs, and a random item. You see, throughout your adventure, you're going to pick up tokens that you can cash in for a pull at the loot deck. What you get is random, but oh, so very exciting. Each time, it's like playing a little mini lottery. So long, boring old coin collecting. Come on, baby, daddy needs a new pair of Sabatons. Bam! It's a coin. Got a coin. But you know what? That's okay. It's not so bad. I'll just save up my coins and then one day be able to buy a reasonable substitute. I mean, this is a deck with like 20 cards in it, so the odds of getting that one item card is like 1 in a million.
Woohoo! Sabatons!
Let's move on to our city and road cards, shall we? In Gloomhaven, when you went into town or out on the road, you pulled from one of these 2 decks, the majority of which produced either something ranging from good to minor inconvenience. Now, the same is still true for Frosthaven in the summer months. You see, Frosthaven is broken up into 2 seasons, summer, and you guessed it, winter. And winter is when hits the fan. It won't be anything you can't recover from in time, just enough to know that something bad happened and you need to do better. Good thing you have an entire summer phase to prepare, because winter is coming. And it's pretty good, right? Winter is coming. Write that down. Winter is coming.
Oh yeah, I'll get right on that. Maybe you can even get Cephalorfair to put it on the box.
You think?
I think you're an idiot.
Now, there are certain aspects of Frosthaven that I can't quite discuss just yet. Because, well, I don't know what they are. Particularly in regards to the puzzles. Throughout your campaign, you're going to come across little clues, and one clue leads to another clue, leads to another clue, and so on. Like a trail of stale breadcrumbs laid out in a straight line, which I assume for no particular reason. A snack left behind for hungry hikers, perhaps? Nobody knows. There's no way to find out. What I'm trying to say is, I don't know how the puzzles work, or breadcrumbs for that matter. Where the hell did they even come from? So I'll admit, there's a lot I don't know about the puzzles, but what I do know is that I'm dying to find out. And speaking of dying, the creatures of Frosthaven have devised a few new ways to kill you. Namely, Brittle, a status effect that causes a character to take twice the amount of damage the next time they take a hit. And Bane, which causes a character to take 10 damage at the end of their turn, which in a lot of cases is a death sentence waiting to happen. I could stand here all day and talk about Frosthaven, but there's just so much in this box it's hard to contain in a 18-minute video. And that's a good thing, because if you're investing your money and your time into a big box legacy adventure, you don't want something that can be summed up in a few minutes. You want a bigger than life experience that you'll be talking about for a long time to come. Swapping stories with the boys over a nice, cold pint of Kool-Aid. And in truth, the Haven line of games is something that you have to really experience to appreciate. Now, if this seems like a game you'd be interested in, check them out on Kickstarter, March 31st, 2020. Oh, and I almost forgot, if you're not one for reading stories and would rather have the story read to you, check out the Foreteller app. It's neato. Thanks for joining us. If you like this video and you want to see more, subscribe to our channel. It's the best way to keep up to date with everything we do here at Board Game Coffee. But if you want to see more right now, we got plenty of videos to choose from. And if that's not enough, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm Mark Maya, and this is Board Game Coffee. And remember, have fun, keep gaming, be social. See you next week.